All right, hey everybody, Tying Tuesday, it is time. Hope you're all doing well out there, fly tires, enjoying summer so far. Got a summertime bug for you. This is the Foam Sally, another pattern out of the Umpqua Feather Merchants catalog. Pretty awesome little fly, a great one to have in the summer months. So we'll get going on her. We're starting out today with an Ahrex hook. So slightly different than the commercially pattern. This is the FW531. It's got a straight eye on it, a nice limerick bend, kind of a straight shank into the limerick bend, and then an upturned barbless point on there. And then I'm starting out with some thread, just using some UTC 70 today. You could always get away with yellow and Cahill's, or just some white if you choose. Looks like I got some broken thread there, so we're gonna take care of that real quick. I don't know if you've ever seen us deal with broken thread in the past. So I have just a little nick. You can barely see it on the camera actually. But what we'll do is I'm just gonna act like I would be creating a dub loop right here, and we'll go over the top of that and secure it down, and then we can come back through and along with our tag, go ahead and clip out that piece of broken thread. And then we're off to the races on back. We're going to imagine right about where that barb would be. You can kind of see the taper in the hook there. And we're going to start with our first material, which is some Uni Floss Red. And maybe, I think he uses something else off of the back. I believe there's a red material coming off the back that's melted. So this is a little bit of a variation of the pattern, which is fairly typical for us, or at least for me when I'm tying on Tying Tuesdays. A lot of the time there are variations of patterns that exist. And this is a great one from Umpqua Feather Merchant signature tyer, Vince Wilcox. So I hope he'll forgive me for the substitutions that I'm making today. Still think overall this is a great design by him. And I'm just going to tie in a tag off the back, just a short stubby piece of material here to work with. We'll half hitch right where I'm going to bring that up to. And this is just going to be a little hot spot off the back of the Yellow Sally, that little red attractor spot. We'll just wrap a few times forward on it, 3 or 4 like so, and then we can come through and grab that off, get my bobbin back up, secure it in place. A few locking wraps there. We'll clip out the extra, and then it leaves a little tag there. So I'm just going to come back over it. If I can grab it there and smooth it down. But not a huge deal, because we are going to come back in and dub our body now with some Superfine in yellow. That's giving me a hard time. There we go. So we'll dub up a nice noodle. We're gonna make a fairly healthy body. This is a larger size of this Yellow Sally. I'm tying it on a 12 today. Good range for this. This is the larger size. In that you can get down to 18s. 18 to 12 would be an appropriate range. That 14 and 16 is gonna be your most fishable size. But if they're taking big attractors, hoppers, stoneflies, then you can get away with a little bit bigger, especially in the summertime when they're a little more opportunistic and looking up for whatever might be floating down. We're just gonna build ourselves a body, walking forward a little ways past the halfway point on this one. Yellow Sallies are always an awesome indicator of not only a clean waterway, but just a nice warm time of the year. And just a little bit more to maybe smooth that out overall. Fish won't mind, but we'll get a little more detailed here. Just come back through, space it and taper it forward. And then we're gonna come in with some CDC. So I have some CDC in Wood Duck Gold. Tan can be a great color for this. There's a lot of different dyes available. And I'm gonna tie it in by preening all of the feathers rearward and leaving myself a little bit of a tag. Now I don't wanna tie in right at that bare stem, I actually want to grab some of that material forward. Just helps to make sure it's secure and a little more durable where you tie it in. Then also gives you kind of a bare space to start wrapping with. And then also on these, I started, instead of trimming that off, I just pull it back and tie over the top of it. And it's gonna blend in a little bit with the rest of this CDC after I go forward wrapping it. So now that I have it tied in, I'm gonna pull some of those fibers rearward, using saliva even though I say not to. And we'll do, I usually like 3 or 4 wraps of this CDC right here behind what's gonna be the rest of our wing. So this is kind of the natural wing on this fly. It's the more natural looking component of this fly as opposed to the foam that we're going to tie in next. Once we have it tied in, we can clip out that rest of the stem, set it aside for the next fly. Kind of clean back over the top of everything, and then you want to come in on CDC. You don't want to clip it usually, but if you want it to be a little more uniform or shorten it up, you can just pull them backward and then come in with your fingernails and sort of break them off. Gives a nice natural look to that overall. So nice little CDC wing underneath there. And then we're coming in with the foam, and this is a lot of the fun part of this fly for me. So I don't know what exactly he uses, but I know that it's some foam with a little bit of modeling underneath. And I found this thin skin. This modeled thin skin is a great material for that. So you just glue a little bit of it straight to a piece of 2mm foam. You can use some, I use just some Loctite super glue. And then the other tool that I've kind of adapted to this is the beaver cutter. So this is the Chernobyl cutters, and it's the beaver tail version. We're not going to use the entire thing, but we are going to use this just to help with consistency. So we'll take our beaver cutter, we'll take our back block, throw that down on the table, and then you'll come in and smash down into it here. Keep it uniform with how I've been doing it. Just press into it until you cut through. You don't want to press too hard because you will cut into that block underneath. You have to be firm to get through it, but if you press too hard, you can actually dull the blades on that block if you're constantly reaming right into it. So that thin skin can be a little tough to get through, so we'll try one more time with this, and then if not, I'll clip it out. And wiggle it back and forth and whatnot. It can be a little temperamental, but I think the consistency that you get out of the cut is worth battling with it. So I'm just going to finish off with scissors. That part I'm going to trim out anyways. So like I said, I have now a nice cut for the most part. Had to cut it out there. Fought me on it a little bit. Clean her up. So a nice body that I'm going to use, but I'm only going to use the back half. So I'm going to come in on it and trim just to a point, right where that first segment breaks. Sorry, from back to front. And we're left with that guy right there. So this is good for this size 12. Anything smaller, it can be a little bit tough. You can do it on the 14s as well, but when you get down to that 16, you do kind of just got to cut it yourself. But the design of this, which I think is awesome, is that gives a modeled underbody and then a nice bright yellow visible wing on top. So once we have that cut, we can just come in and secure it down and then walk back on it, making sure that's where we want it. Over top, securing it down and giving ourselves plenty of room to wrap our hackle forward. So we want that to stay on top, not turning to the side. Laying down on everything here. And then the next thing we're going to tie in is the antenna. And for that, I'm going to use a little bit of my cape here. So I am using my Cree cape today because it has some nice yellow and orange coloration in it. And then it has a nice dark barred center. And what you want to do for the antenna is sort of come to the underside of this for what would be kind of your bugger sized hackles. And we're just going to trim one out. We just need one of them. So we got that guy. And then I always cut off the butt because it tapers pretty quickly. And then when you get to the center section, it's a little bit less extreme. So I have just my hackle feather there. Now I'm going to clear it off completely. Just going to strip all the barbels off of there. So I'm left with just a blank stem, and we'll strip off that tip. Then I like to just simply tie it in on one side, like so, and then I'll work back on it a couple turns, and then I can pull the opposite side forward and capture it down. And then as I go forward, I'm going to pull them up when I get close to the eye, give one wrap or two below the eye so that they stay upright, and then work my thread back and out of the way. And we can come and trim them, and I like to trim them right about the length of the body. So we'll just cut them like so. You can come in with your fingernails and give them a little bit of a curve. Kind of like you're wrapping a present and you're doing a curly ribbon. We know your mom taught you. Give it a little bit of a curl there. Makes it kind of natural looking. And now we need to pick our hackle. So the hackle, again, is a Cree. If you're looking for some specific hackle, it can be very hit or miss. Give us a call. If you're willing to kind of put in a little bit of a lead time, we can help you locate the hackle that you might need. Dark bar ginger for this is great. The golden badger can work well on this pattern, nice light colors. And then this Cree is also great. So if you have a cape that's sort of yellowish orange with some black, I really like the black stem for the segmentation on the thorax of this fly. So we'll try and find ourselves a 14 here. I'm pretty happy with that one. There's actually two in there. Let's get just one of them and prepare it to be tied in. So we'll clip off some of that butt section, get ourselves a nice tie-in point there, just like so. And I'm going to position that right back towards this foam. Like always, a couple of wraps in front, crisscrossing through, and then we're going to fold that stem down and grab it. And then we want to make a nice smooth transition for wrapping that hackle forward. So to do so, I always like using some dubbing. Helps to blend the thorax into the abdomen as well, and then allows you to control sort of that taper downward as you wrap your hackle. So we'll work back again, make sure that that transition's fairly clean underneath, and then we can walk the rest of that forward. And I already see where I have a little bit of a bump, so I'm gonna try to hit that and smooth it, and then continue forward. Nice tight dubbing noodle. Dry flies, we want to get that dubbing as tight as possible so that it'll stay, prevent it from getting waterlogged throughout the day. And we'll walk our thread up and out of the way in front of that antenna, and we can bring our hackle forward. So slightly open wraps. Like I said, that black core of this hackle just makes for nice segmentation on the thorax here. So we'll take it forward, 4 and 5 there. Then we can bring our thread right back up to it and around behind, capture that end, clip out the extra, and then pull everything up and back. It's starting to get on that eye there, so be very careful about crowding your eye towards the end here. Easily done. And I should be able to just sneak up and in and give it a few quick turn whip finishes. So, that is A juicy little foam Sally. A great summertime bug. You can see that hot yellow back makes it nice and easy to fish, very visible. And then on the underside, that modeling attached to the yellow gives a more realistic profile. The CDC is a nice natural looking wing. And then of course your hackle up front. Let's try and trim out that extra piece that we don't need there. Again, I crowded the eye a little bit there, but we'll hit it with some glue and that'll be just fine. Just something to be aware of as you're tying these. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps you catch some fish on some yellow sallies up on top. For all the materials, check out the description below and visit avidmax.com for all your tying needs. Thanks for watching and have a great time fishing.